what Final Fantasy game to start off with. If you want to start off playing any of the Final Fantasy games but you don't know where to start off, hopefully this video will give you some sort of information to know what game to start off with, and you can walk away knowing that you have picked the right game for yourself. So the question you might be asking is, do I need to play Final Fantasy 1 all the way through to Final Fantasy 16? And the answer is no, you don't, because all of the storylines are not necessarily connected, they are individual. The only exception to this kind of rule, or to this kind of answer, is pretty much going to be your Final Fantasy X, X-2, Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, Lightning's Return. This is the exception because these are linked together for the storyline, but you don't have to play Final Fantasy 1 all the way through. The answer is pretty much what your game style is. If you like turn-based, if you like real-time, or if you like online MMORPG, this is down to your preference. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this video will give you some information based on what games to start off with, and also hopefully give you one of my recommendations, if you guys know me, on the Final Fantasy games. Now let's kick this off with turn-based. If you wanted the old style turn-based nostalgia games, 8-bit games, I would recommend Final Fantasy 1 through to Final Fantasy 3. And with Square Enix saying that they're going to provide Final Fantasy games across all platforms, you can play these games on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Switch, mobile phone, on Android, and also iOS. It is entirely up to you what platform you do want to play, but you still get the old style kind of games, and it is a massive nostalgia if you do want to take time in order to build your strategy. Let's just say that you want the real-time battle, but you also want to keep the turn-based feel of the older kind of games. I've got you. This is something that's called ATB, which is the abbreviation of Active Time Battle, and I'm going to break this down for you to explain what this means. Active Time Battle, which means you have a gauge which fills up over time in real time until it is full. When it is full, you do have your move to pick if you want to cast spells, attack, defend, or use items to heal yourself. And that's not just for you, this is also for the enemies. The enemies have a gauge that fills up, and when that's full, you guessed it, they get to have their move if they want to attack or even defend. Now, if you wanted the ATB system within your game, it was introduced to the Final Fantasy games for Final Fantasy IV all the way up to Final Fantasy IX. If you wanted the old style 8-bit kind of feel, I would recommend Final Fantasy VI myself. Or if you wanted that kind of a 3D model, I would recommend personally my all-time favorite, which would be Final Fantasy VII and also Final Fantasy IX. Now, there is one thing I'd like to address when it comes to the ATB system for Final Fantasy VII OG. And you guys might know, based on when I said OG, it is the original game from Final Fantasy VII, which was brought out in 1997. Square Enix have brought out a different game, which is going to be Final Fantasy VII Remake and also Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which has the up-to-date graphics, up-to-date and really good music. Combat is completely different, which is more real-time based, while keeping intact the storyline of the game itself. But I am going to come back to that on a later date because we're not talking about real-time yet. And now this is where we bring up to Final Fantasy X. Now, Final Fantasy X has a slightly different turn-based battling system, which is called CTB. Now, CTB stands for Conditional Turn-Based Battle, which is slightly different to ATB, mainly that when the gauge fills up, the whole battle stops, so you can pick and choose and take your time with what abilities, fighting, or items you want to pick within that time span. Now, with Final Fantasy X, this is a game that I do enjoy, and this is in my top 5 favorite games. This game actually made me cry, get angry, feel happy, confused, excited, loved. This game gave me a lot of feels to kind of process while I was playing it. And also with the sphere grid, which is pretty much how you kind of get your new abilities and level up your characters and make them stronger. Any kind of character can learn any kind of ability. It's all linked. So if you have lines of like a healer on your party, you can get them to learn a lot of the fighting mechanics. But just to remember, some characters may do it much better than others. And also with Final Fantasy X, they do have a sequel, which is Final Fantasy X-2. Now this follows the main female protagonist, which is called Yuna, after the stories of Final Fantasy X. So if you wanted a little bit more of a longer story with Final Fantasy, I would recommend Final Fantasy X and also X-2. So now just to recap, we've gone through Final Fantasy 1 through 3 when it comes to the turn-based side of it. Then you've also got lines from 4 all the way up to 9. Then we've also done Final Fantasy X. What is the next number? Oh yes, Final Fantasy XI. Now when it comes to Final Fantasy XI, there's not really much I can say on the matter, personally, because I haven't played it myself, and there's something that I can recommend which is going to be bigger and obviously better if you wanted to play MMORPG. So MMORPG is pretty much if you wanted to play online with your friends in a big Final Fantasy world. And this is something that I do recommend going for, and I'm going to skip a number, which is Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is something that I have played myself, and they're still carrying on, making it bigger and better and more storylines, more extensions. And this is something that you can feed a lot of hours into just to kind of build up your character. And there's a lot of things that you can collect, that you can learn to build, you can craft, you can also, what I'm going to say is glam your character. If you want to create new styles and designs for your character when it comes to your outfits or your weapons, Final Fantasy XIV has you covered, and it's something that I do recommend because, and this is where I'm going to probably say it, I've sunk a few hours into Final Fantasy XIV, and I don't feel anything bad about it because it is enjoyable online. Talking a bit more about Final Fantasy XIV, there are items to collect, there are classes to level up, to get different weapons, to fight. If you want to be a DPS, which is damage per second, or if you want to be a tank, which takes it hits, or if you wanted to be a healer and heal the party, you can pretty much be a healer and heal your party. And within Final Fantasy XIV, when it comes to the fighting mechanics, it is real-time fighting party mechanics. Something I do like to add, because it's an online MMORPG, there is a subscription that you have to pay for this game, for Final Fantasy XIV. And at the moment, this is the only one with Final Fantasy that I know of that you have to pay a subscription to play online. Not sure if 11 does, but I would recommend trying out 14. You do get along the lines of a trial. I can't remember anything what level it is. I think it might be along the lines of level 60 or 70 that you can play up to a few classes, but you can test it out before you subscribe. Now a slight transition when it comes to subscriptions or subscribing. If you guys do like the content so far, don't forget to like, comment and also subscribe. If you guys do like any of the Final Fantasy games or want to put your kind of views across, do comment down below what's your favorite Final Fantasy game. If you have any questions about any kind of Final Fantasy game, do comment down below and I'll get back to you guys as soon as can be. Now we move on to Final Fantasy XIII. Now Final Fantasy XIII has 3 games in the sequence, which is Final Fantasy XIII, XIII-2, and also Lightning's Return. Final Fantasy XIII does have the fighting mechanics system, which is called Command Synergy Battle, which is CSB, funny enough, and also known as Paradigm Shift. With Paradigm Shift, players can switch between different paradigms, which are essential preset character roles, like Commando, Ravager, and also Medic. Each paradigm specializes in different actions and abilities. So if you are a medic, it more focuses on your healing, as well as, I'm guessing, lines of your debuffs. And then when it comes to lines of commando, it's more lines of fight based, opposed to what medic is. It is the complete opposite. You also have automated actions. Now, when players control the leader of the actual party, the other two characters are commanded by AI. So it depends on what their paradigm shift are, they're determined to use those abilities to either help you or to attack the enemies, but you only get to control the party leader. And because we spoke about Final Fantasy XIV, which is the MMORPG, very briefly, I'm going to jump over to Final Fantasy XV. Rather talk about every single fighting or battle mechanic with every single game. From now on, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information when it comes to the story, also the graphics, as well as the actual characters themselves. This game is a real-time based fighting game, so if you do like something that's a little bit more upbeat when it comes to fighting your enemies and also putting yourself on edge, this is something I do recommend, with great mechanics. Also, it is a open world game. Also, you do get to drive a really cool car, which is called the Regalia, and I'm also not going to tell you what happens on a later date, so you guys are not necessarily going to be spoiled here. Now we're going to be moving on to the recent release, which is Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI is a real-time, fast-paced RPG game. With this one, you get to fight between big bosses such as called dominances, where when you defeat them, you get to have their ability incorporated into your own. You get to use 3 dominances in your fighting style, I think, to fight against your enemies and build up one of its attacks and abilities. If you guys have played a game called Devil May Cry, this is going to be a similar kind of fighting experience for you. With this game does have the base game, obviously, with 2 DLCs, and I absolutely loved playing this game because I did enjoy Devil May Cry, and it is very fast paced, which actually does get the heart pumping and you thinking quite a lot. This game was brought out on the PlayStation, which is in 2023, and then a year later on was released on the PC, and then a year later on which was on Xbox. So if you guys do play on PlayStation, Xbox or PC, you guys get to choose, but not on Switch or mobile phone, I'm afraid. Only on PC, Xbox and also PlayStation. Now, halfway through the video, I did bring up information with Final Fantasy VII series, or the franchise. Square Enix brought out the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is the first part of the Final Fantasy VII, with the new graphics, with the new combat, with the kind of the storyline from the original. Then you have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is going to be the second part outside Midgard, which is going to be the second part of the story, with slightly different fighting mechanics, which is repolished, but more of an outworld feel when it comes to Final Fantasy VII. Then we are waiting based on Final Fantasy VII, the third part, with no name at this moment in time. So we don't have any information based on that, but it is a 3-part of the game series. Also, some information based on Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. This information is the storyline before Final Fantasy VII ever happened. So this is going to be with a different character, different storyline, but I may end up make a video on a later date on what part or what place to play every single individual game on a later date. But just so you know, I think with Final Fantasy VII, they don't have just 1 or 2 games. There is several of them. So there we go. Now, with all that information inside your head, possibly you picked out your favorite Final Fantasy game where you want to start. But I'm here to kind of give you my recommendations based on lines of what I think would be quite a good way to start off with what Final Fantasy game probably fits your style. Now, for the modern and cinematic experience, I do recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, or Final Fantasy XVI, if you do like that lines of cinematic and also real-time upbeat fighting mechanics. For great story and also classic gameplay, I do recommend Final Fantasy X and also Final Fantasy IX. The story is absolutely amazing. Also, the graphics are with the 3D models are fantastic. Also, the music is really something you can vibe with. But like I said, storyline absolutely fantastic. Now, if you wanted that old style nostalgia game, which is the 8 or 16-bit kind of game, I do recommend Final Fantasy VI. Now, this is one I haven't really kind of finished myself, but I have played quite a bit of it. So this is something that is probably the lines of something that I can't necessarily put a little bit too much information to it, but I really do lines of like Final Fantasy VI. Another one I would recommend would be Final Fantasy VII Original, but out of those two kind of games, I think they're the ones I would recommend to you guys for the old style 16-bit game. And then last but not least, I think when it comes to the old style MMORPG, there's only going to be one answer, which is going to be Final Fantasy XIV. If you guys do want to try out the trial, there is a lot that you can do within the open world game, and it just gets bigger and better, and the music is fantastic. So if you guys want to sort out a trial without doing any subscriptions, this is the game for you for your MMORPGs. And now we come to the end of the video. So if you guys do like this video, do like the content I have provided, don't forget to comment, like down below, and also subscribe. It does help the channel to grow. And also next time maybe I'll do a video of what Final Fantasy VII game to play in which order, so you guys would know anything, not to get anything spoiled. But until next time, I shall see you guys later, and enjoy picking your first Final Fantasy game to play.